We are live. Hey, how is it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding live video Q&A for Friday, March the 11th. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this is coming through loud and clear. And that you...
Black Spider-Man
here. We got Black Spider-Man joining us. Where's your mask?
I don't feel like wearing it.
Oh, but you just want to wear the suit.
Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. So I want to see if this is coming through loud and clear, because
I'm in the background, huh?
Yes, you are in the background there, buddy. I want to see if this is coming through loud and clear. Test, test, test. Can you hear me? If you can, please let me know in the chat window there. Because last week I had some issues with my laptop not coming through playing the audio. So that's why I'm concerned. Just there we go. Oh, you got another Spider-Man. Okay.
I made this one myself, guys.
Yeah.
I made like the half venomized, actually.
Yeah,
guys.
he's a venomized Spider-Man. Okay, as you can
I'm a venomized worker.
As you can tell, I got a Spider-Man fan in the house here. All right, Daddy's going to do his video chat here now. So, okay. Again, just confirm, for those of you who are tuning in, I see Lee's joining in. We got John joining in. Is this coming through loud and clear? Can you hear me? Good stuff.
Bye-bye.
All right. What'd you do? He shot a piece of thread at me. This is his spider web. Okay. Anyway. All right. All right. Actually, what I'm doing this time around, I actually switched. I'm using a different computer. So I had my older laptop that I was using last week, and for some reason the audio wasn't working on it. Ended up having to do it on my phone. And this time around, I just switched to another computer, and it's coming through loud and clear. So fingers crossed, it works good through the chat. So for those of you who are regulars to the chat, welcome back. I mean, you know the rigmarole. For those of you who are new to these video chats, I want to welcome you. And the way this works is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next half hour to an hour, thereabouts, and basically just shooting the breeze. We're just going to have a chat discussing fitness and nutrition, any specific challenges that you have when it comes to your workouts or your nutrition program, anything that you need help with when it comes to building muscle, losing fat, whatever you would like to discuss with regards to training, nutrition, and workouts and all that kind of stuff. Feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window there, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat here today. So just a quick little update now on some of the things that I've been doing. I just posted a new training video to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. Some of you may have seen that already. It was literally posted up this afternoon. So if you're subscribed, it probably came up in your notifications. If not, then you can go and check that one out afterwards. But that is a new beginner's 3-day per week program that my wife and I were actually following. Now, I'll be totally transparent. The video footage for that video series was shot over a month ago, but we're only getting around now to actually getting it edited and published online. But that was a workout program that we actually followed when we got back to the gym again, because the gyms in our area were closed after Christmas and then throughout January and stuff like that. We went into another little mini COVID lockdown again. So we were out of the gym for a while. And this particular program that I'm sharing in the videos was a 3-day per week beginners program that our local gym, Platinum Health and Fitness, has. Oh, thank you, love. Look, she's got me a cup of tea. Tea with Lee. We have an official Tea with Lee video chat here today. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You want me to dress up as Spider-Man? No, we Patricia's asking me if she'd like to, if I want her to dress up as Spider-Man. Well, maybe a Spider-Woman, but not another Spider-Man. Anyway, Patricia's featured in that video series, and it's a 3-day per week beginners workout program. And this is a plan that they have up at Platinum Health and Fitness, the gym that we train at. So what we did is we actually followed their 3-day per week program and videotaped the whole series. And I'll say I'm putting the videos together now and publishing them as a new playlist for YouTube. So the first one is up, just published it today. And then next week I'll get the start working on the second and then the third parts of those video series as well. So that'll be a new program that you can follow. And this would be, if you're looking for a new program, right, something to change things up, by all means, it'd be a good one to follow. And I'd like to clarify when it comes to beginner training and intermediate and advanced, because technically there's really no such a thing as a beginner's workout. I mean, you can have exercises that are easy for beginners to learn, and that would make it a beginner's workout. But even if you are an advanced lifter, you could still follow what is considered a beginner's workout and make it, a very intense and effective program. What determines the effectiveness of the program is how hard you push yourself during the program. Like, you could take a very simple routine in terms of exercises, sets, and reps, but if you push yourself with maximum intensity, that's a very intense and advanced program. I mean, prime example, you take like a lot of power lifters. I mean, I've seen some guys get brutally strong, just squat, bench, deadlift. Like, that's it. 3 exercises. Simple. I mean, it's as plain and as boring and as bland as can be, right? Just 3 exercises, but they push themselves with those exercises and it works. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if you take a beginner program or a total body program or something like that. I mean, even if you're advanced and you've been training for, 10 plus years, you can still follow a quote unquote beginner's program and make progress with it. And I'm a prime example of that. I mean, that's what I like to follow now. I like to keep it simple with my workouts these days. I'm not in there doing all kinds of crazy, weird body part splits. More often than not, it's either upper lower split or some sort of total body variation. That's usually the way it is. I don't like to go in there and have chest day and back day and leg day and all this anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I personally enjoy total body workouts for a couple reasons. One is, if you can't make it to the gym as consistently as you like you got a life outside the gym, career, family, and responsibilities, and you might miss a day or two here and there, then if you're on a scheduled split, say like a body part split where you're in the gym pretty much 6 days a week, if you miss a few workouts, it can really throw off your whole schedule. Whereas if you're doing total body workouts, if you miss a session here or there, it's not that big a deal because you're going to hit all your major muscle groups the next session. So, I mean, you get to train your major muscle groups more frequently. And I like that flexibility, especially the way it is with my schedule and that. Now, I'm not as consistent with the gym as I was in the past. So if I miss a few workouts here and there, it doesn't matter. I can still make it work. Another thing that I like about the total body workouts is you're doing a little bit of stimulation for a lot of muscle groups. So you don't end the training session feeling overly sore in any one area. So like, it's not going to be, oh man, my chest is painfully sore after chest day, or shoulders are painfully sore after shoulder day, and now I can't even lift my arms up to brush my teeth, or legs are painfully sore after leg day, and now I can't sit on the toilet because without pain, or can't climb a flight of stairs without pain. Like, I don't like pain. Right? I'm gonna be honest. I don't like that deep, delayed onset muscle soreness. And I find that when you're doing total body workouts and you're just doing a little bit of stimulation for multiple muscle groups, you don't get painfully sore in any one body part. So it's a great way to alleviate a lot of those aches and pains, and I don't get the repetitive joint pain as well, right? Because very often if I do like a pressing day, like say like chest day or something like that, sometimes I get the pain in the rotator cuff or pain in the elbows because of all that repetitive movement. Whereas when you do a little bit for all your major muscle groups, I don't get that aches and pains in the joints, and I find that it works really well. So for those of you who are 40 plus and you're looking to kind of how can you train and stay consistent and respect your body, then total body workouts is probably one thing you might want to look into, and I'm a big fan of them as well. All right, so let's see who we have joining in. We've got Lee joining in. We've got John joining in. Moses is joining in. Welcome, gentlemen. And as you're tuning in, like if you're watching this now, type into the chat window. Let me know who's tuning in and where are you tuning in from. All right, any questions we got coming through? Let's see, what do we got there? I do push-pull legs once a week, shoulders some days as well as legs. And all right, I can clarify what I just said earlier. If you're following a particular training split and you enjoy it and it's working for you, then keep doing it. Like, just because it's different than what I'm doing, don't feel like, oh, well, Lee's doing a different program than me, then what I'm doing is wrong. No, it's not right, wrong, good, bad, or whatever. It's like, if it's working for you and you enjoy it, then hey, by all means, keep doing it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just sharing what I'm currently doing and what I find works best for me. I mean, if you want to follow along with it and try it for yourself, then hey, you're more than welcome to. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to build your body, right? There's more than one workout program that you can follow. And this is something you're going to find regardless of who you talk to. Like, you could talk to 10 different bodybuilders and you're going to get 10 different answers when it comes to, hey, what workout program do you follow? Even when it comes to nutrition philosophies, you talk to 10 different people, you probably get 10 different answers. And it's not always right, wrong, good, or bad. It's like, what's right for that person at the situation they're in, the training goals that they have, their lifestyle, everything else, their schedule. What's most important for that person and what works the best for them. So that's why you'll sometimes have different opinions. And again, it's not that it's right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just different. All right, we have Moses is saying I do chest and tries and shoulders, basically push, and then I do back and buys, pull, and then legs 4 to 5 times a week. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I've got push pull leg plans. I've done playlists showing those. I mean, up on my YouTube channel, there's some push pull legs playlists because I've done that program in the past. And of all the different body part splits, that's one of the more effective ones because you're working similar muscle groups in the same workout, right? All your pressing muscles in one workout, all your pulling muscles in the next, and of course, lower body in the following workout. And that's a very effective way to train as well. All right, who else we got? Juan joining in from Florida. We've got Ange joining in. What's your predictions for Eddie Hall versus Thor's fight on Saturday? You know what? I have no predictions. I'm not even following along with it. So, I mean, I know who Eddie Hall and who Thor is, but I'm not following the drama, if you will. So, who knows? Who knows? Time will tell. I really have no idea on that stuff. All right. Good stuff. Any other questions or topics of discussion? Let's see. Normally I do this video chat a bit earlier, or because that's normally when it fits my schedule. But today I decided to have dinner with the family first and then do the video chat afterwards. So it's a bit later. So it's a smaller turnout than normal and less questions coming through than normal, which is cool. I mean, hey, if we have a short chat, doesn't bother me one little bit, but for those of you who are tuning in live, hey, feel free to take advantage of it. What do you think of Greg Doucette causing drama with other YouTubers? I'm not even going to get into that, right? I understand what he's doing and why he's doing it, and it works, but that's just not the way I roll, and that's cool, right? Eric's joining in. Welcome, Eric. Glad to have you tuning in. Awesome. Good stuff. All right. Well, if there's no questions, I can just ramble on a little bit. But if there's really no questions, then we don't need to have a video chat today, do we? All right. There's a question. John's jumping in. He says, do you think the strongest range of motion, partial reps, is okay, as the weakest range can be bad on the joints? Great. That is a good question. And there's different schools of thought on this. And if you followed, oh shit, what are the guys' names now? They had the whole training system back, oh my goodness, 10, 20 years ago or more. The power factor training. Pete Cisco, I believe, was his name. And who was his partner in crime? Business partner, co-author, whatever it was for the program. John Little, if I'm not mistaken, was his name. I could be wrong on that, but I believe it was Pete Cisco was one of the guys. And anyway, they had this system called power factor training, and they've since elaborated and created a whole bunch of different variations. They even came out with their own line of exercise equipment where you didn't even do weight lifting. It was just pushing a static bar that had a power meter on it to register how many pounds of force you were exerting. So you would like do static contraction reps using this power reader machine. And you basically just be exerting force in your strongest range of motion and try and hit new power numbers. Anyway, bottom line, partial range of motion versus full range of motion. Their theory is as long as you are lifting the weight, it doesn't matter what range of motion it is. It's just, hey, the heavier the weight, the more muscle stimulation you're going to get. And it's not as simple as that, because and we see this in real world situations all the time. Like, it's a lot harder to do a full range of motion exercise than it is to do a partial range of motion exercise. Prime example, like you're locking out a weight in a squat, for example. Like you can on rack more weight than you can squat, or you can on rack in the bench press more weight than you can fully bench press. And this applies to any exercise. Like you can just lock out and support way more weight than you'll be able to do a full range of motion repetition. Now, there's pros and cons to it because you can utilize that to help condition your body, build up tendon and ligament strength. Like a lot of powerlifters will incorporate partial range of motion training, to help just condition themselves to handling heavier weight. Like you see sometimes power lifters will do like heavy squat lockouts where they'll unrack the weight, walk out with it, and then just walk back in and rack the weight again. So they're practicing getting used to handling so much heavier weight than they can actually lift. Or they'll do partial work in the power rack, like again, bench press lockouts and squat lockouts and deadlift lockouts and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, but I wouldn't recommend doing that at the expense of full range of motion training. Because I've done this myself in the past where I've went through phases of just doing partial range of motion training. And yes, you get really strong in the partial range of motion, but it doesn't always carry over into your full range of motion. What I believe will be the best of both worlds would be to use full range of motion for the majority of your exercises, and then to add in the partial range of motion stuff as a more high intensity training technique. Whether you do it in the same workout or in a different workout, it's kind of up to you how you want to structure it, but do not neglect full range of motion training. You still want to build that into the equation. Like for example, if a power lifter never ever did full range of motion squats, they always just did little quarter range of motion partial squats, they would never have the technique or the stability or the functional strength to do a full range of motion squat if they never ever trained for it. So you have to train for what you want. And that full range of motion, it carries over into a better muscle development. I mean, I've noticed this myself. Like when I'm doing my exercises, you watch my videos, I always use a full range of motion. And I find that allows you to get maximum muscle development. And it just helps to create that functional real world strength, because just doing these little partial lockouts, yeah, you can get strong in that range, but it's not always going to carry over into the weaker range. And it's not going to, you need to strengthen the full exercise is what I'm getting at, right? So bottom line, there is merit to it, but don't use it exclusively, right? I wouldn't recommend that. And I've done that in the past, and I've found that it didn't carry over into real world functional strength. You need to practice both. And for people who are just trying to work out to stay fit, like you don't even need partial range of motion. Like just your full regular exercise range of motion that you would do for your majority of your exercises is fine. The partial range thing is kind of like an advanced trick to spur on advanced strength gains. So I mean, this isn't something that beginners should be bothering with. This is kind of something that if you've been training for several years and you consider yourself more of an advanced lifter, this is a tactic and a technique that you can utilize in more advanced training programs. But again, that's a good question for sure. What are your thoughts on pre-workout drinks? I've been addicted to them. That's part of the reason why I'm not a huge fan of pre-workout drinks, is because they are addictive. I mean, let's face it. I mean, caffeine and all the stimulants, I mean, it is a drug. Caffeine is a drug, and it's one of the most abused drugs out there. One of the most used / abused. And the thing is, a lot of people have a gray line what they consider use and abuse is. If you can't function without it, then it's borderline abuse, right? And you want to be careful. I've utilized pre-workouts, and I find that most of them are too strong, especially nowadays. Like back in the old days, in the early days of pre-workouts, they weren't as strong as they are now. And now it's almost like a pissing match to see who can put more caffeine and more stimulants into their pre-workout and just jack it up and get you buzzed out of your head. Right? That's the way it is for most pre-workouts these days. I'm not a big fan of them. And if I do use it, I will use it conservatively. Like very often, if I have a pre-workout, I'm using half the suggested serving. So like if they say use 1 scoop, I'm using a half or maybe even a third of the scoop, because I find that that's more than enough. I don't need any more than that, because some of these, I mean, they might have 2, 3, 4, 500 milligrams of caffeine, which is like, astronomical amounts. It's crazy. My pre-workout of choice, honestly, it's a cup of coffee. A cup of black coffee is what ever since I started training, That's what I've been utilizing, and that's what I use today, right? 99% of my workouts, I'll have a cup of black coffee. Sometimes, and I'm talking like very rare occasions, I will have a pre-workout. And it's in those situations when I really want to push myself, test myself, and kind of like get the extra oomph. And I'll give you a prime example. Um, Back last fall, I competed in the provincial road cycling championships, a bicycle road race. I used a pre-workout before I did that race because I wanted to push myself, and it was a competition. If I was going to compete and test myself, that's when I would use the pre-workout. And even then, I used half a serving. I used half a scoop. I didn't even use the full scoop. That's when I would use the pre-workout. But for my regular day-to-day training, I don't want to burn myself out. So I'm just going to keep it small. Simple cup of coffee is more than enough. And on average, a typical cup of coffee, you're getting somewhere around 100 milligrams of caffeine, which by pre-workout standards, like that's minuscule. Like that's a fart in the wind, but compared to most pre-workouts. But that's what I usually have, right? And that's my pre-workout of choice. I'm not a big fan of pre-workout drinks because, again, they're so strong. And what happens is, yeah, you feel great when you use it, but then once you start using it day after day after day, eventually that feeling wears off. And then you get to the point where you build up a tolerance to the caffeine and to the stimulants. And now you just need the pre-workout to get your energy up to just maintenance level. And if you don't have it, then you just kind of feel like you're dragging your ass. So it's quickly becomes overkill. But if you save it for when you need it, those rare occasions, it can be a powerful tool to give you an edge when you need it. But it shouldn't be something that you're taking day in, day out, or even 3 or 4 times a week. Like, I think that's overkill. Why does being lean cause low testosterone? That's from Ange. We got to clarify that. Being healthy lean is not going to cause low testosterone. In fact, it could actually help to optimize testosterone. But when you go from lean to contest shredded, like a competitive bodybuilder or fitness model or someone who's dieted down with virtually zero excess body fat, and they're like peeled, shredded, what you would see in a bodybuilding competition or a cover model, of a fitness magazine or something like that. That is not sustainable for most people. I mean, there's a few genetic freaks out there who can sustain low body fat, but most people, you have to be in such a calorie deficit to achieve that your body literally starts to shut down, and it shuts down a lot of unnecessary functions. And I'll give you some prime examples. Like, for example, women who diet down for bodybuilding and fitness competitions and stuff like that, like they stop having menstrual cycles because their body starts to get so depleted. That is not a necessary function for life, and the body will literally shut down unnecessary functions. So if a woman is shredded, she's not having her menstrual cycle. That's one thing that stops. Other things like your metabolism slows down. Your hormone production slows down. Like your body goes into starvation survival mode. So everything just starts to slow down, try and conserve energy. Your strength and energy in the gym is just going to be down the toilet. And this is why a lot of people will then rely on energy boosters like pre-workouts, like we talked about in the previous question there, in order to try to artificially amp up your energy. And I can relate to this myself as a former competitive bodybuilder. This is the way it always worked for me, is I found I could go from fat to lean, feel good. But to make that transition from lean to ripped felt like crap. Like, and it's usually for me, it's right around that 10% body fat range. Like, as long as I'm in the double digit body fat, I'm feeling good. I've still got energy. I can function and survive at that range. But once you start dipping into the single digits, then energy levels start to dip. Your hormone levels start to dip. Your mood and like it disrupts your sleep patterns. Like, very often I couldn't even sleep throughout the night because I'd be waking up feeling hungry. It just really messes with you. Now, granted, you look good when you're super lean, and your skin is thin, and you got muscle definition, and you see all the cuts and striations and all that. It looks cool, but it doesn't feel good, and that's why it's not sustainable for most people. And like in all athletic sports, you very rarely see someone go super shredded. Like, most of the time, they've got a little bit of body fat on them. Right. It's because they want to stay out of that extreme deprivation mode and be in their optimal fighting weight, if you will, right? Where they have enough body fat to function and to prevent those metabolic downsides, but no excess weight that they're carrying around dead weight, right? They want to be at their fighting weight, right? Where you're lean and you're healthy and you're strong and athletic and energetic and no extra baggage, but not so deprived that you're depleted, right? And it's a very fine line. And it's going to be individual for everybody, but in my case, it's right around that 10 to 12%. If I'm at that 10 to 12% body fat range, that's like my fighting weight. I'm optimal. If I get lower than that, my energy is just down the toilet. If I'm higher than that, well, I'm just carrying around some extra pudge at dead weight, and you don't need that. So it's a very fine line, and that's why, because when your body gets so lean, everything just starts to shut down. Have you ever used SARM Osterine as might use it? Great video, by the way. I've not. I've never experimented with SARM, so I really can't comment on it. I know they're becoming more and more popular, and there's a lot of videos out there. Like some people say they're great, some people say they suck, some people say I don't like. There's everything. I personally have no personal experience with it, so I really can't comment on it, other than the fact that it's a gray area supplement, and I use that word very loosely because if you research SARMs, they even say on their websites these are not meant for human consumption. These are research chemicals. So like, what the hell are you buying? It's very underground, very shady, and they're getting away by selling them by not even saying that it's for human consumption. It's research chemicals. So obviously, some people will probably consume them, even though they are research chemicals, right? Hint, hint, wink, wink. But it's really like a crapshoot. If you're going to go into that, all I'm going to say is do your homework, right? Do your homework and weigh out the pros and the cons and the risks, the benefit, and the side effects and everything else. Because just because it's legal as a research chemical doesn't mean it's safe, right? So you got to look at it that way. What else we got? Let's see. Jump Kick Jones. Gotta love that username. Hiya, Jump Kick. Oh, I like that ISO chain thing. Okay. I'm not sure what ISO chain thing is, but good stuff. Juan's joining in. He says, are there any testosterone booster supplements out there that actually work? If you genuinely have low testosterone levels, like you went to your doctor and they tested you and your testosterone levels are low, there's really not much you can do. Now, well, let me back that up. If you're eating like crap, you're not exercising, you're drinking booze, like you're the typical, like, don't give a shit about your health and fitness, and you're just like totally ignoring and doing a lot of things wrong, then yeah, you can improve your diet and lifestyle choices, and that could help to improve your testosterone as well as many other things. Like if you just start eating better, eating high nutrient dense food versus just empty calorie junk food, you start exercising regularly, you start getting sleep, quality sleep every night, you avoid alcohol, you avoid recreational drugs and like all the bad stuff, and you start living a healthy lifestyle and eating and exercising, that could in turn help to improve somebody's testosterone. And it very often does. You see people who are just overweight, obese, out of shape, don't give a shit about their health and fitness. And then their doctor says, hey, man, you got to get your shit together or you're going to die of a heart attack. And then they get their shit together. And then a year or two later, they get their blood work done and like everything goes up, right? Like their health improves, their stamina improves, right? Their cholesterol improves, their blood pressure improves, like all this stuff improves. And very often their hormone levels can improve as well. However, if you're already doing all that stuff, like you're healthy and you're active and you're taking care of yourself and you're doing all the right things, right? Eating right, exercising, avoiding alcohol and drugs and sleeping, and you're doing all that stuff right. Then as far as supplements, like all the so-called test boosters you see in the supplement stores, a lot of them are hit or miss. Like, yes, they'll on the label say, hey, this is going to jack up your testosterone by 1,000,000% and this and that. But real world feedback, it's not always the greatest. And if somebody genuinely has low testosterone, I would recommend looking into hormone replacement therapy. And I've actually recommended this to several of my Muscle After 40 coaching students. Several of them have actually went through it, and it's made a huge difference, right? So it's like several of the guys that are in the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program are using hormone replacement therapy, and it's made a big difference. Now, I want to caution you on, just because someone's using hormone replacement therapy, that does not cancel out diet and exercise and lifestyle choices. Because actually, most of the people who are in the program who are using hormone replacement therapy, they started the hormone replacement therapy first, and they say, okay, well, now I'm feeling a bit better. I got better sex drive, more energy and everything else, but I'm still fat and out of shape. And then that's why they came to me looking for help, because they're like, okay, I got on hormone replacement therapy, thought this was going to be the magic bullet that's going to get me from fat to jacked. And okay, now I'm feeling a bit better, but I'm still fat, right? Like, what do I do? And I said, well, you got to clean up your diet, and you got to exercise, and you got to improve your lifestyle choices and make this a habit and lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. So it's not the magic bullet, right? A lot of people think, oh, HRT is going to solve all the world's problems and everything's going to be great. And no, it just helps. To kind of put it in perspective, like hormone replacement therapy is going to put you at optimal hormone levels. Like when you were at your prime, like say in your early 20s or something, when your hormone levels are at their prime. Now, just because somebody has optimal hormone levels doesn't mean they have a great physique. Because like, look at the average person in their 20s. Like, does everybody who's in their 20s, are they all ripped and shredded with six-pack abs and look like they're, Greek gods on the beach? No, most of them are still fat and out of shape, even though they're in their 20s and they have optimal hormone levels. So just because somebody has optimal hormone levels doesn't mean they're going to be, looking like a competitive bodybuilder or a fitness model. But it helps, right? Having optimal hormone levels will help with the workouts, will help with the recovery, will help with the whole muscle building and fat loss process, but you still need to do the work. I actually made a video discussing this in more detail. If you go to my YouTube channel and scroll through my recent videos, it was probably posted up a month or two ago, but just scroll through. There's actually, or do a search, Lee Hayward hormone replacement therapy, or Lee Hayward testosterone replacement therapy. It should pop up in the YouTube search, but it's in my most recent videos, and you should see it. And I go into more detail about the whole process and give some real world examples of people who've actually utilized it and got some benefits from it. All right, moving on. We've got RC joining in. I'm watching this from my new home, just finished. Monster rack 93 tall with pull-up bar and safety arms, plus a dip attachment, pegs, band attachment. Any opinions or recommendations? All right, so you got a new... I missed a key word there. My new home gym. All right. I said you're watching this from your new home, but your new home gym, right? Maybe it is a new home. I don't know, but it's a new home gym. I missed a key word there. Anyway, power rack, pull-up bars, dip attachment, spans. Any recommendations? So if you're looking for recommendations, one, do you have cable pulleys? I didn't excuse me. I didn't see cable pulleys in there. If like a good home gym, ideally, you would have high pulley, low pulley, so that you can do like pull downs and tricep push downs and high pulley work. You'd have a low pulley so that you can do low pulley curls and rows and things like that. So you want to have high and low pulley. And with my gym, I actually have like a cable crossover setup. So it's a power rack, but on the front of the power rack, there's high pulleys and low pulleys, two on each side. So I can do things like cable crossovers and flies and all that. High and low, so you can get the benefit of both. It'd be nice to have a lat pull down station if that's another thing that I have as well. A leg extension, leg curl. Even if this stuff is plate loaded, that's fine, right? Plate loaded is ideal for a home gym because it's a lot cheaper than weight stack machines, and it's just as effective. So in my home gym, I got the power rack, I got the cable pulleys, lat pull down, leg extension, leg curl. Barbells, dumbbells, all that stuff. That's pretty much, the basis as far as strength training is concerned. Having some cardio equipment in there is another thing that's going to be huge, whether it's an elliptical, a treadmill, a bike, or something, or maybe a couple pieces. I actually have a rowing machine that I just picked up a few months ago, and I love it. Rowing machine is awesome, cardio rowing machine. And I also have an indoor stationary bike set up on a trainer. So it's a turbo trainer, and I got my bicycle set up on it. So I can use the bike outdoors or indoors. I just basically take the wheel off, set it up on the indoor trainer. And so I use that as well. But as long as you got your cardio and you got your strength training and you can hit all the major muscle groups, I mean, you're basically set. But those are one things that I would look into for sure. Leg curl, leg extension, right? Adds a lot of variety to your workouts, especially when home gym, because there's not a lot you can do for legs other than squats and deadlifts. So that will make a huge difference. And then the cable pulley attachments for the cable work, and you're pretty much set. All right. Let's see what else we got. Pogie Boots saying, great video today on the beginner upper body workout. Forward it to my parents too. Smash the like button as I did here. Thanks. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed the video. Glad you shared it with your folks. I mean, hey, you can share it with your folks. You can't force them to do it, but who knows? Maybe they'll get motivated and actually take some action and follow through, right? This actually brings up a nice little side discussion. And this is something that I hear a lot of people talking about, especially when I'm talking to my coaching students who've gone through the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. They've made their transformation and they're so excited about their progress. And now they want to go out and save the world, right? They want to go out and motivate all their friends and their family and everybody and help them get in shape as well, because they've experienced an amazing transformation and they're so excited and they want everybody else to experience what they're experiencing. And I respect that. I understand where they're coming from. The problem is you can't force somebody to do something that they don't want to do or they're not ready to do. And I've learned this the hard way. Because back in my early days of bodybuilding and fitness, and back when I became a personal trainer, you know, back in the late 90s and all that stuff, and I was, you know, I started off as a volunteer strength and conditioning coach at the local YMCA right after I got my certification. And I mean, I was so full of piss and vinegar that I wanted to go out and help everybody, right? Like all my friends and family and everybody who was either overweight or out of shape. And like, hey, I'll get you in shape. I'll set you up. I'll train you. I'll get you a diet plan. I'll do it all. And I was trying to force fitness down people's throats who didn't want it, right? Like they might have said they wanted it on the surface, like, oh, it'd be nice to lose a little bit of weight, but they had no intentions of changing anything or doing anything. It's almost like winning the lottery. Oh, it'd be nice to win the lottery. Nice to be a millionaire, but I'm not going to do any work to actually become one, right? Like that's most people's attitude towards fitness is like, oh, I'd love to be in shape if it just fell from the clouds and landed in my lap, and I just woke up one day, you know, in a perfect body, but I'm not actually going to work to achieve one, right? I'm too lazy to do that. So if somebody's not ready to change, you can't force them to change. All you can do is live it yourself. Like if you want to motivate someone, get in your best shape. You know, you do it, you live it, you breathe it. And then if somebody's interested in what you're doing, then they will come to you and ask for help, right? But don't try and force it on anybody, like especially friends and family members and stuff like that. Like in my situation, I do not push fitness on anybody in my family. Like when we go out to family dinners or get-togethers or, you know, whatever, I don't even talk about fitness. I don't talk about diet, exercise, nothing. I don't even bring up the topic of it. If somebody asks me a question about diet and exercise, well, then I'll engage in a conversation with them, but I'm not going to bring it up. I just do my thing. And then if anybody's interested and they want some help, then I let them come to me. I mean, I'm not trying to force it down their throat, because I did that in the past and I actually pissed more people off than I did help anybody. And I find very often when the people you're closest with, they don't respect your opinion anyway. And it's true, because they're too familiar with you and they very often don't respect it. And I prime example, like within my whole coaching program, there's not a single family member or relative or anybody that I have any close connection with. They're all strangers before they came on board with the coaching program. But now since they become part of the coaching program, we've become close friends. But before then, like there was no connection. And I find like that actually works the best when you're trying to help somebody, is having that distance, because then they actually listen to you, respect your opinion, and follow what you say. Whereas when it's friends and family and people who are close to you, they'll just tell you, shut up, push off your advice, right? You see this all the time, right? I mean, that's why a lot of times even like doctors will not treat their own family, right? They only treat strangers, because if there's too close a connection, it just doesn't work, right? You need to have that comfortable professional distance, if you will, sometimes, for people to respect your opinion and actually get some results. So I respect the fact that you're sharing this with your parents and trying to help, but you know, you can't always If your parents don't want to get in shape, you can't force them to get in shape, right? Right. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But if the student ain't ready, it doesn't matter what the teacher tries to do. Nothing's going to happen. What else we got? Jump Kick Jones is asking, do you go for PR lifts at this point in your training? Nope. I don't do any personal records. I have no idea what I can 1 rep max on anything. That's the truth. I've never done a 1 rep max in over 10 years. And that's the God's honest truth. I mean, I used to compete in powerlifting, like back in the early and mid 2000s. I competed in powerlifting, and that is powerlifting, per PRs. But nowadays, I really don't. That's not my priority anymore. It's all about just being healthy and fit and sustainability and staying injury free. That's my big thing now. And I've had several injuries that have prevented me from pushing those, real heavy, low weight reps. So, I mean, I just can't do it anymore. What else we got there? Craig is joining in. He says, today I started reading your Ripped After 40 ebook. Very good. Any suggestions on how to set triggers? When you say triggers, I'm assuming triggers for habits. That I would assume that would mean like, hey, when this happens, I do this. Like that, this is the trigger to make me want to do that. I think that's probably what you're referring to. And I tell you what, if you're really looking for some help with developing habits and sustainable lifestyle, there's a great book I recommend. And I actually have it here on my shelf. Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is a great book. I gotta say, I've got it on Audible. I've got the hard copy, and I go through it with a yellow highlighter and I take notes and stuff like this. This is an excellent book. And one of the cool things about it is he uses a lot of diet and exercise examples within the book because it's something that everybody can relate to. So it's not a diet and exercise book, but when he's given examples of how to create habits, how to stack habits, and how to make this stuff sustainable, there's I'd say like at least a third of the examples that he uses in the book are diet and exercise related because it's something so practical for everybody. So that would be a great book to read if you're looking for some tips on really creating a habit-based approach. But when it comes to triggers, one of the things that I like to do is a technique that I actually learned from that book. It's called habit stacking, where you stack new habits on top of existing habits. And this is very powerful. And I'll give you a prime example of one that we used to use and we kind of still use today, just modified it a bit. When my son was going to daycare, right? So, I mean, he's in kindergarten now, so he's going to school. But back when he was going to daycare, we were taking him to another daycare in town. And a new daycare actually opened up right next door to the gym that we train at. So what we did instead is we literally switched daycares, took him out of the one that was across town and moved him into the one that opened up right next door to the gym. And this was habit stacking because every day we were taking our son to daycare. So we're going to do that regardless. I mean, like, regardless if you're motivated or not, you still got to take him to daycare. Hey, we're paying for it. This is where he goes in the daytime. And as a stacking habit, what we would do is we'd pack our gym bag and have everything ready to go the night before. So we take Harvey to daycare. We're already at the gym. The gym is right next door to the daycare. So we would, from daycare, go over, do our workout, and then head home. And so we stacked the habit of going to the gym on top of something that we were going to do anyway automatically, right? So that's a way of habit stacking. Now, you can incorporate this into your life. Prime example, like let's just say, on your way to work or on your way home from work, instead of just leaving work and coming home, you leave work, you go to the gym, and then you come home. So you stack the habit of going to the gym on top of something that's already in your routine as it is. Another one that I used to use for some of my coaching students, like I remember one of the guys I was working with, he had a full gym, or he has. I mean, he had, and the reason I'm using past tense is because he went through the program a few years ago. But in his situation, he had access to a full gym at his work, but he was never using it because he thought, well, I don't have time to work out and blah, blah, blah. And he made up all kinds of excuses, right? Too lazy, too busy, too this, too whatever. But I said, you know what? Let's do mini workouts. Instead of doing a full like hour plus workout, how about we do a little half-hour workout on your lunch break? And we schedule these workout routines. So 5 days a week at lunch break, he did a half-hour workout, and then he still had time to clean up and eat his lunch as well. So, I mean, instead of just sitting around the break room shooting the shit with the guys, he used that time for his workout. And I mean, he was already at work. He already has access to the gym. I mean, he just had to add the habit into what he's already doing. So like it's a way of stacking habits into your already scheduled routine, things that you're already doing as it is. And this is one of the best ways to form new habits, is to stack them on top of habits that you're already doing. A lot of people do this. You see guys like, again, I use the example of hitting the gym right after work, or some people like to hit the gym right before work. You know, you're already going out the door anyway. How about we just stack going to the gym on top of that? You know, you can make that work. Another one is even with nutrition, right? You can stack habits when it comes to your nutrition. And one of my habits that I always do is every time it's mealtime, I always start my meal with protein and veggies, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, doesn't matter, protein and veggies. If I want to eat food, the first thing that has to go into my mouth is protein and veggies. Once I get that done, then I can fill up on some other stuff afterwards, you know, other complex carbohydrates, or even if I'm going to have some not so good cheat food, it's going to happen after I fill up on protein and veggies. I always want to get that in there first, right? The nutrient dense, high volume food that's going to fill and nourish me, get that in there. And then I can have the other stuff afterwards, whether it's, you know, just starchy carbohydrates, or it's even a bit of junk food. I always have that habit built in there. And this habit allows me to stay lean and enjoy the process without feeling like I'm deprived or on a diet. So, I mean, that's another strategy you can use to kind of trigger yourself, is just to stack habits on top of what you're already doing. But this is basically like how the whole Muscle After 40 coaching program is structured. It's not just another diet like, hey, here's your calories, here's your macros, do these sets and reps, good luck. It's all about how do we make this sustainable, and how do we structure this in a way that you actually follow through and do it. You know, how do you take what you know you should be doing? Because like everybody knows I should eat right. Everyone knows I should exercise, all that stuff. But how do you take what you know you should do and actually make it part of your lifestyle so that it gets done? That's the kicker, right? Like, I'm giving you another example. Like, think of quitting smoking. Like, everybody who smokes cigarettes knows smoking is bad for them. I don't think there's a human being alive who smokes cigarettes that thinks this is good for me, right? Oh, these cigarettes, they're wonderful. They're going to make me live a long, healthy life and enhance my performance and what. No, everybody knows smoking is bad for them. Everybody does, right? We're bombarded with it since we were children, how bad smoking is. But yet people smoke. And to quit smoking, it's the easiest thing in the world. The tactics of quitting smoking, all you have to do is stop putting cigarettes in your mouth. If you stop putting cigarettes in your mouth, you're a non-smoker. It's the easiest thing in the world. Yet, how come so few people actually do it? It's because it's hard, and it's the habits and everything else that's been ingrained with it. The same applies with diet and exercise. Like everyone, I talk to a lot of people, oh, I know what to do. I know I should eat right. I know I should work out. I know what to do. Well, how the frig you're not doing it? Why? Like, if you know what you should be doing, how come you're not doing it? It's just like the smoker who's smoking. Like, they know they shouldn't smoke, but they do it anyway, right? Knowing what to do doesn't mean jack shit. It's how do you take what you know you should do and actually have a system in place so that you do it, and you do it automatically without conscious effort and willpower. And that's what we cover within the Muscle After 40 blueprint. And that's why people who go through that program lose the weight, get in shape, and not only lose it and see the results initially, but then they're sustaining it, you know, months and even years later, because now it's ingrained as part of their lifestyle and not just another, oh, I went on a diet for a few weeks and I lost a few pounds and then went off track and gained it all back again. Like the yo-yo diet that 99% of people do when they go on a weight loss program. You got to create sustainable change. And that was a big old rant. I went off on, man, that was anyway, that was Craig's question on how to set triggers. You triggered me, right? A simple question lent off to a big old rant. Anyway, hopefully you got some value from it. I'm going to move on. We got Lee Dunnigan saying, upon waking up in the morning, first thing I do is I drink a pint of water. Is there much benefit to adding fresh lime or lemon to it? I've read it that there is, but I'm not sure how accurate it is. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you can certainly do it. And yes, there are some health benefits to drinking lemon water. You know, like it can help to alkalize your system and stuff, but it's not going to make or break your progress. Like, drinking lemon water versus regular water, like it can help, it's not certainly not going to cause any harm. And if you enjoy it and everything else, but like you ain't going to make or break. Like you're not going to go from 0 to hero because of a slice of lemon. Right? It's a minuscule change, right? I mean, and again, it can help, but if you enjoy it, do it. If you don't enjoy it and it kind of like ruins your water that you drink in the morning, and you almost like look at it this way: if it adds to it or does, or you're kind of neutral, then do it. If it makes what you're doing unpleasurable, don't do it. Again, it's such a small change either way that it's not going to make or break, right? That's like stepping over dollar bills to pick up a penny. You know what I mean? Like it's such a small, minuscule thing. All right, let's see what else we got there. Stu was saying that he agrees with what I was saying earlier about the pre-workouts, and I obviously you've been there and done that, right? Right, I'm preaching to the choir. We got Andrew joining in. He says, "Is 12 to 15% body fat a good range for general strength athletics as a non-competitive lifter?" For most people, yes. For most guys, yes. 12 to 15% is a good general range. Now, again, that's going to depend on individuals, because like some people are naturally leaner than others. It's going to depend on what method of body fat testing you use, because some methods are going to give you lower readings than others. But generally speaking, that would be a good number to shoot for. If you're getting super lean, like lean to the point where, okay, you got full visible six-pack abdominals and vascularity and striations, and like you're like there's not an ounce of fat on you. And when you get to that point, and if you're dieting and feeling hungry all the time in order to sustain it, then that's too low, right? That's like training for just the vanity purposes, trying to get as shredded as possible so you look good. It's not performance. Now, on the other flip side, simply piling on weight for the sake of just piling on weight, that's not good either. Now, I mean, there is a tipping point. Like that's why most strongman competitors and powerlifters will have like a gut on them, because having that extra weight does help. Like a bigger gut helps to give you more stability, especially like squatters. You look at very often, like the biggest squatters are guys with big guts, because that gut gives a big solid base to the core that helps them to rebound out of the bottom of the squat. So very often some of the biggest squatters are guys with big, thick torsos. So it can help in extreme power situations. But from a general athletic point of view, you don't want that extra weight weighing you down, right? Because from a functional strength point of view, the more extra body fat you're carrying, that's just dead weight. That's going to slow you down, and that's just, you don't necessarily need it. So you want that sweet spot, in between deprived and in between excess baggage. And again, for most people, somewhere in that, between 10 to 15%, I would even broaden the range a bit. Between 10 to 15% would be good for most people. All right, moving on. Eric's joining in saying, "Lee, I know you get asked the question of the use of creatine in every video. Is it a recommended supplement to have forever, or just eat red meat and I'll be good with it?" It's personal preference. Now, creatine can be used as a long-term supplement, assuming you can tolerate it well and it doesn't cause any issues. Like it's kind of an individual thing, because I know some people actually get an upset stomach when they take creatine. Like it just doesn't sit well with them for whatever reason. But it's not a must-have supplement, right? Like you can survive without creatine. Like in the greater scheme of things, creatine only came about as a mainstream supplement. Creatine hit the market in the early 90s. Before then, like back in the pumping iron days, when Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno were battling it out in this, in the 70s, and then the pumping iron days in the 60s and all that, they weren't using creatine, right? There was no creatine supplements available back then, and they still built amazing physiques. So it's not a must-have supplement by any stretch of the imagination. It can help, and there's numerous studies. I mean, as far as supplements goes, there's probably more research studies on creatine than anything else. So, I mean, it's been documented and backed up that it actually does produce noticeable results. And that's why it stood the test of time, that something that was introduced back in the early 90s is still available today in the early 2020s, right? Like it wouldn't last that long if it was crap. So, I mean, it stood the test of time. So it does work. Is it a must-have? No, it's not a must-have. Is it safe and effective and everything else? Absolutely. And the thing with creatine, it's not just physical performance. There's health benefits to it as well. Like there's mental and cognitive benefits to it. Creatine's been shown to help people with mental degenerative diseases and cognitive issues like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and issues like that. Creatine's actually been shown to help produce some positive results in those cases. So it's not just a athlete supplement, it's a general health supplement as well. I usually take creatine on a daily basis. Now, some days I won't take it. I mean, like if I'm traveling and I miss it or something, like I don't freak out over it. Like if I miss a dose of creatine, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I didn't get my creatine today. I'm going to shrivel up and die. No, but more often than not, I take it. And usually how I take it is same time I take my vitamins. Like it's up in the cupboard with my vitamins. So when I'm taking those, I usually just take out the creatine and I'll just dry scoop a scoop of creatine. And all I do, like I'm drinking water while I'm taking my vitamin tablets, and then I'll take a scoop of creatine powder, dump it in my mouth, and chase it down with water. And that's how I usually take it. So I'll do it usually once a day when I take my vitamins. So that's the way I do it. But if I miss it for whatever reason, I'm not going to freak out over it, right? As long as you take it consistently, you're going to get the benefits from it. Like creatine is one of those supplements. It's not a time activated supplement, not like caffeine. Like caffeine, you want to take it like it'd be no good to take a pre-workout after you work out. Right? Like go through the gym, train for 2 hours, and then when you're after the workout's done, slam back a pre-workout and then get your caffeine jitters. No, caffeine is a time supplement where it matters when you take it, right? You want to take it before you need it. Creatine doesn't matter. Like as long as there's creatine in your system, it's going to work, right? Like as long as you have adequate creatine stores. So, I mean, you can take it before the workout, after the workout, on a non-workout day, like in the morning, noon, night, it doesn't matter. As long as it's in your system, it's going to work. It's like taking your vitamins. Like as long as you have adequate vitamins in your system, your body's going to utilize them and get the benefits of them. You don't need to time your vitamins. So, they'll only work in the morning and they won't work if you take them in the afternoon. Like, no, as long as you take them and you have adequate stores of the vitamins and minerals in your system, you're going to get the results. Creatine, same way. It's just as long as you have adequate stores in your system, you'll reap the results. And the people who are the lowest in creatine and could benefit the most from it are plant-based eaters. So people who vegetarians and vegans, they have the lowest levels of creatine because most natural sources of creatine come from animal products. So if you don't consume any animal products or very few, then you'll probably get the most benefit from creatine supplementation. All right, what else? Stu was saying, thanks for the answer on SARMs. Well, glad you appreciate it. I mean, it wasn't much of an answer because I really didn't I don't have any personal experience to share with it, but you're welcome. Okay. During workouts, hypertrophy, are doing bodybuilding poses aid during sets, or is it better after the workout? During workouts, hypertrophy, are doing bodybuilding poses aid during sets, or is it better after the workout? Okay. It's from a pure hypertrophy point of view, you don't have to pose to build muscle. All right, just throwing that out there. Bodybuilders pose because on stage, that's what you do. You pose, that's how you display your physique, and it's going to help to develop more muscle control so that you can highlight your strong points and hide your weak points and just display your physique in its best light, its best, strongest position. So that's why bodybuilders will pose. Now, the act of posing in itself is a static contraction workout. Even though you're not lifting weights, you're flexing and tensing the muscles, and you flex and tense very hard. It's very often like a max effort flex or max effort muscle contraction, even though there's no weight or anything being lifted. So it is a workout in and of itself, and it can help to bring out more hardness and definition, and of course, more control over the body. So that's why bodybuilders will do it. But from a simply getting in shape, building muscle, like, do you need to pose? No. Like, you look at athletes in other sports and stuff like that, like a football player or whatever, or a boxer or whoever. I mean, a gymnast. You look at athletes in other sports who have lean muscular physiques, like they're not posing, or other than maybe hitting a muscle shot for an Instagram selfie or something like that. but they're not posing like a bodybuilder would. So, I mean, posing is not mandatory to build hypertrophy, but it can help if you are a competitive bodybuilder and that's what you're training for. As far as when to do it, when I was competing in bodybuilding, I used to always do the posing afterwards. Right after the workout was done, I would finish off with some posing, because if you do it during the workout itself, I mean, not that it's a bad thing, but it will take away some of your strength and performance from the exercises you're doing. And sometimes it may cause you to cramp up. Sometimes it'll just cause you to be extra weak, so you wouldn't get maximum. You wouldn't be able to handle maximum weight in your exercises because you've already pre-fatigued the muscles from posing. Now, that can be good or bad, because maybe if you have a stubborn body part that you're trying to get that mind muscle connection with, posing that body part in between sets could help to increase that mind muscle connection. But it also is, you're draining yourself from the posing, so you're not going to be able to exert as much with the lifting. So it's kind of like a catch-22, right? A 6 of one, half a dozen of the other in that sense. But in my case, when I was competing in bodybuilding, I would always do my posing after my weight training. And you look the best afterwards because you did your weight training, your muscles are pumped, you've sweat out that little layer of surface water retention under the skin. So I mean, you're going to look your best when you pose after a workout. Versus if you pose when your muscles are cold and you're retaining a little bit of water and stuff like that. Like when you're pumped up and you sweat out that little bit of surface water under the skin, you're going to look your best, and then it's just more fun to pose when you're looking your best. All right, moving on. We have Joshua's joining in, and he says his name is Josh, so I will not call you Joshua, I'll call you Josh. He says, I'm 16, 6'1", I weigh 299 pounds. Can taking creatine affect my weight loss because I'm trying to lose weight and gain muscle? Great question. Creatine, it's not going to affect fat loss. Now, will it affect weight loss? Maybe a little bit, and I'll give you a real world example. Especially someone who's 299 pounds. I mean, obviously, you've got a lot of extra body fat on, but you've got a lot of muscle on your frame as well, because 299 pounds ain't all fat, right? There's a lot of lean mass on that frame. And when you take creatine, what it can do is it can pull water and nutrients into the muscle cells and create cell volumization. So it's, as far as weight is concerned, when you pull water and nutrients into the cell, that is weight. So, I mean, you will retain more water weight, but it's in the muscle cells. It creates this fuller, stronger, bigger muscle. I mean, muscles are 75% water anyway. So creatine just helps to build muscle in terms of pulling water and nutrients into the muscle cell and volumizing it. So when you supplement with creatine, you may gain a couple pounds on the scale. And this is kind of an individual thing. Like some people don't gain much. Some people gain a significant amount of weight. I've been using creatine so often, and I probably keep a steady supply that I don't really notice it anymore. Like if I miss a few days of creatine and I take it, and like I don't really see my body change because I don't really go through like a deprivation phase or anything like that. I've always kind of got a base level of creatine in my system all the time, so I don't see my weight fluctuate at all. But when I started it for the first time, like I remember back in the early 90s when I first took creatine, I was like, holy shit, like boom, this stuff actually works, because I was getting that initial hit and my cells experienced the cell volumization and stuff. So I mean, it was like you get that boost initially, but then once you have that, and that's now the new normal. Now it doesn't feel any different. Like that's just maintenance now because you've experienced it. So if you start taking creatine and you're not taking it and you haven't taken it before, you may go over 300 pounds, right? You might hit 300 or 301 or 302 or something like that. But it's not meaning you're getting fat. It's just meaning you're pulling more water and nutrients into your lean muscle, and it's creating that cell volumization. But you can still diet and do cardio and train for fat loss and still burn actual body fat. And in fact, for people who are training to lose body fat, I do recommend supplementing with creatine because it's going to help to maintain lean muscle while you burn body fat. So is it going to affect your weight? Maybe. But is it going to affect actual body fat? No. And it's actually a good supplement to take while you're on a fat loss program to help maintain your strength, help to maintain lean muscle, and allow you to focus on burning body fat. So you can certainly take it, but it may, in the short term, cause you to gain a pound or two due to water being pulled into the muscles. We have A-Rod joining in. All right. Pogie Boots, follow up to Jump Kick Jones's question. Do you go for PRs on Strava sometimes to challenge your aerobic fitness? Yes, this is where I am pushing my PRs now. I thank you for clarifying that, because my main fitness goal at this stage of the game, not everybody's going to agree with it, but it's where I'm at this stage. I'm prioritizing my cardiovascular fitness through cycling. So one of the things I'm working on is improving my FTP, my functional threshold power on the bike. And when I'm out riding, like especially our local routes and stuff in the summertime, I like to go for KOMs on Strava. If you're not familiar with that, look it up. Strava is a tool that runners and cyclists use for tracking their runs or their rides. I use it for tracking my rides. And then on different routes and segments, then there will be sections like, okay, up this road, and then there'll be everybody who's ever rode up that road before will be recorded on Strava, and they'll list the rankings of the fastest to the slowest on that particular road or route or whatever. And the person who is the fastest is the king of the mountain, KOM. So, I mean, I'll go for that. I'll strive for hitting KOMs on Strava. And in my local area, I've gotten several of the KOMs. I don't know what it is right now, but it's up there. I mean, I got 60 or more KOMs in my local area on Strava, and that's what I'll shoot for. That's how I push myself, challenge myself now, is with cardio and with cycling and stuff like that. I'm not pushing myself with 1 rep max bench presses, squats, and deadlifts anymore. Because again, I've had numerous injuries with those, and I find if I try and push it, then it's just going to aggravate old injuries. But cycling, knock on wood, I haven't gotten to the point yet where I can pedal so hard that I tear a muscle. Right? It may happen. I don't know, maybe. But as of right now, I haven't gotten my pedal power to the point where I'm at muscle detaching from bone and tendon at this stage of the game. I'm not putting out that kind of power on the bicycle. So I'm focusing on improving my strength and cardiovascular fitness on the bike. That's my main fitness focus at this stage of the game, not on just lifting weights and getting bigger and stronger in the gym. In fact, as far as getting bigger and stronger, I'm beyond that. I don't want to get bigger and stronger. In fact, if I lost some weight, I'd be quite happy with it. Right. Okay, what else we got there? Update on past post. Okay. Eric's question about bodybuilding poses, aid in muscle definition and muscle pump. Yes, they will help to give you more mind muscle connection, help you to get a better pump and more control. That's the biggest thing you'll get from posing, is it helps you to develop control over your body, because you'll be able to flex and contract and tense individual muscles. And this in turn will carry over into your workouts, because a lot of times the reason why people don't get a pump or can't feel a particular muscle is because they just don't have that mind muscle connection. They don't have the control, especially in the back. Very few people have good mind muscle connection in the back, because it's out of sight, out of mind. And like, can you flex? Can you bring out the Christmas tree in your lower back? Can you flex your lats? Can you do a lat spread? Like, do you have that kind of muscle control where you can actually move and show your body at its highlights? Most people can't do none of that stuff, whereas bodybuilders can, because they spend years training for it. So it really develops a higher level of sensory acuity within the muscles and your ability to control your body. And of course, that mind muscle connection and that control will carry over into better muscle activation when you're working out, better pump, better able to isolate the individual muscles. So, I mean, yeah, there's certainly an advantage to it, and that's why bodybuilders do it. But again, for general health and fitness, is it required? Of course not. You can still get in great shape without posing. But if you're asking about bodybuilding posing, then you're probably interested in maybe someday, like it's a goal in the back of the mind that there's a bodybuilding competition in your future somewhere. Do it, right? If you're asking about it and you're curious about it, do it, practice it. All right, there on YouTube, there's a shit ton of posing videos, people explaining how to pose and stuff like that. Follow along with them, learn how to pose. If you have like posing coaches at your local area, people who do this, by all means, take advantage of it. Like, this was something I used to do a lot of, especially in my bodybuilding heyday, is posing clinics at our local gyms and stuff. Like, take on people and take a small group of guys, and what we often do is go to the gym after hours, because you don't want a bunch of people in there in freaking underwear and posing trunks in the middle of the day when the gym is open. That just wouldn't go over good. But we go to the gym, we get permission to go in there after hours or something, and put off posing clinics, and people would, just teach guys literally how to pose, and the fellow competitors and stuff, and it made a huge difference. So yeah, if you're questioning it and you're curious about it, then hey, by all means, do it. All right, moving on. What else we got there? We have City is joined in and he sponsored the chat. Thank you for your support. Much appreciated. Says, I'm following your single limb workout, and I'm also thinking of adding basic calisthenics workout. What are the reps and sets for beginners calisthenics? I would love to give specific numbers, but it's going to depend on your strength, because let's just throw out some examples. Push-ups. How many push-ups can you do? Right? Like I can say, oh, you need to do 3 sets of 15 reps. Well, maybe you can only do 5 push-ups. And then if I give you 3 sets of 15, then obviously you're not doing 3 sets of 15 if you can only do 5. So when it comes to the calisthenics body weight exercises, like calisthenics is basically just a fancy way of saying body weight exercises. Just focus on going through the motions, learning the movements, and do what you're physically able to do, and focus on progressive overload, right? Add repetitions, add sets, add volume as you get stronger. And that's how you progress with body weight exercises, is you increase the volume, meaning either increase the volume of repetitions, increase the volume of sets, or another way of adding volume and increasing is reducing the rest in between sets. So you basically just force yourself to do more work, more volume of work, versus changing the weight, because you're using your body weight. Now, with that being said, you can add weight in the form of like weighted vests and things like that. Or some people will do weighted push-ups or weighted pull-ups and weighted dips and things like that. But most of the time when people are doing body weight workouts, they're just using body weight. So as far as the repetitions and stuff, it really depends on your individual fitness level. The first thing that I would focus on is I wouldn't even get hung up on trying to hit certain set and rep targets. Just do multiple sets of low reps and focusing on mastering the form. That's the most important thing. And then let your body progress from there. As you start to build up your stamina and your fitness level, I mean, your repetitions will naturally grow with it. But don't try and force it, or go in there with this, oh, I've got to do 10 pull-ups, or I got to do 20 push-ups, or I got to do whatever. No, just work on improving your form at whatever number you are. Like if you can do 1 pull-up, then do 1 pull-up with perfect form, right? Focus on that. And if you can't do a full pull-up, or you can't do a full push-up or whatever, then there are exercises that you can do to build up to doing those. Like in the sake of pull-ups, for example, you can do negative pull-ups, where you, instead of doing a full range of motion, you simply will grab the barbell, use your legs to assist you to the top, and then slowly lower down under resistance. Same thing with push-ups or other exercises. So again, don't get hung up with, oh, I got to hit certain set and rep targets or whatever. Focus on mastering the exercises first. That's the beginner's calisthenics workout, is just learning to master the exercises with proper form, and then let it progress from there. And don't force it. Like, let your body grow, not force it to grow. It's a different mindset, but it's a much more enjoyable one. And this kind of applies to all your workouts in general. Like, a lot of times people go in there with the idea that I'm going to force my body to do something. Like, I'm going to force it to get big, or I'm going to force it to get lean, and I'm going to do, like, you can't force anything. And to give you an analogy to really make this make sense, imagine if I'm trying to grow a garden. Right. So I go out there in the spring of the year and I tend the soil and everything else, and I prepare the garden and I plant the seeds and I water them and I fertilize them and I make sure they get lots of sunlight. Like, I can tend it, I can look after it, I can nurture it, but I can't force the plants up out of the ground. Right. Like, I can't go out there and say, grow, you goddamn plants, grow. Like, I can't force them out of the ground. Like, there's nothing in my physical power. I can just take care of them. I can nurture them. I can do all the right things as far as water and fertilize and tending the soil and sunlight and all the right things. I can do all that, but then I just got to sit back and let it happen. Trust the process and let it happen. Same with building your body. Like, you can eat right, you can exercise, you can get adequate sleep, you can take care of yourself. Like, you can do all the right things, but as far as the results, you just got to sit back and let it happen. Like, you can't force the muscle to grow. You can't force the fat off. You can't physically force anything. You just do all the right things, and then trust the process and let it happen. Just like trying to grow a garden, right? We just let it happen. And this applies with your workouts and everything else. You can't force anything. You just got to nurture it, provide all the right elements to the best of your ability, and then sit back and let it happen. And if you do that and you trust the process, it will happen. Now, granted, it's probably going to happen slower than you think, because the fitness industry and all the hype and the marketing BS out there has got people brainwashed into thinking, hey, I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days, or I'm going to start a new workout program, and right, I'm going to go from, zero to hero and be a pro bodybuilder in 6 months. Or no, it ain't going to happen as fast as that. Right? It's going to take time. Just the same as if I plant a seed today, it's not going to be like Jack and the Beanstalk and I'm going to have, a mile high beanstalk tomorrow. Right? Muscle doesn't grow as fast as beanstalks, and Jack and the Beanstalks. So you got to bring things down to reality, right? Things happen slowly in the real world. And, as long as you do the right things and you trust the process and you refuse to quit, the process will happen. The results will happen. You just got to let it happen. All right, there. I'm going to get ready and clear this up. Holy shit, we've been going for over an hour and 16 minutes. So once you get me wound up, guys, I I get the gift of gab sometimes. There we go. Hopefully you're enjoying the gift of gab. All right, what else we got? I'm going to just quickly scroll through some of the questions that we got there and see if there's a finishing question that we can end the chat on. Craig is saying, thanks for the recommendation of the book Atomic Habits. I've heard of it. I will read it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. Personally, I would recommend getting the Audible version as well as the hard copy and go through both of them. Like this is a strategy. I learned this from one of my a friend of mine who's a very successful business person, very successful bodybuilder. But this was his strategy that he shared with me of how he absorbs books at an accelerated rate. If you really want to learn, you get the Audible version of the book, you get the hard copy. You listen to the Audible on like double or even triple speed while you're reading the book at the same time. So you're listening to it auditorily and you're reading it visually, and you absorb it in both the auditory and visual means. And you can go through the book so much faster because, again, you're listening to it at like maybe double or triple speed, but you're seeing it at the same time. And you can really go through the book and absorb it at a much deeper level. And another tool that I would recommend to amplify that even more, get yourself a yellow highlighter. And when you get to the good nuggets, pause the audio, highlight that stuff, and then go over it again, and then just keep going. But listening to it and reading it at the same time, like you will absorb it at a much deeper level than just either one, listening to it alone or reading it alone, having the double stimulation, right? You get the auditory and the visual, and it really helps you just learn it at a deeper level. All right. And with that being said, I'm probably going to clue it up. So there, we're going to clue it up on a reading tip. All right. There's still some other questions coming through, but like I say, I'm running out of time. It's getting late here, and I don't have time to go through them all. But hopefully you enjoyed the video chat. Hopefully you got some benefit from it. And if you do have any questions, comments, or feedback, feel free to type them down in the comment section below when the chat's over. Or if there's anything you would like to elaborate on or you need some more clarification, feel free to reach out to me, right? You can send me an email, my personal email address. I'll have it listed in the description below. You can reach out to me over on Facebook as well. I'm very active over on Facebook, and I have my Facebook link in the description of this video as well. So open that up, friend me up on Facebook if we're not already friends, and we can chat over there. And in the meantime, have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I will talk to you next Friday. Over and out. Boom.